Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie. My last name is Cullen Avendano, and I'm in the Human Services program, and also this is for the Addictions and Family Counseling class. The movie that I chose was 28 Days, and the main character was played by Sandra Bullock, which she's amazing, and I love all the movies that she's in. So just to kind of jump right in, she's a Caucasian female. I would say, if I had to guess, probably in her late 20s, early 30s. In the video, Gwen is the youngest. She has an older sibling. Her sister's name is Lily. I would say Lily is probably in the movie about 3 years older than Gwen. They were raised by their mother, who was also, she also suffered from addiction as well. I would say she died when Gwen, the main character, was around the 5 or 6 years old, and they ended up having to move in with their aunt. As far as the father figure, I don't remember exactly if they said what happened, but I believe he left when they were young. I don't know that he died, but he left. So they were raised until about the age 5 or 6 by their addicted mother. I'm not for sure the drug of choice for the mother, alcohol or drugs, maybe a combination of both. I'm not for sure. Gwen's drug of choice was alcohol and Vicodin as well. Let me see. So let's see. There was the sister, and then she also has a boyfriend as an adult in the movie. His name is Jasper. So that was kind of her family dynamic there. I would say, if we were to talk about the specific roles within the family, Gwen, the main character, since she was the youngest, suffered from addiction and things like that, I would say that she would probably be considered, the scapegoat of the family. She pushed the boundaries. She was the troublemaker. She was, the one that kind of, pushed all the buttons and all the boundaries. And the older sister, Lily, I would say she was more so the family hero. She did things the right way, was the responsible one, didn't cause problems, things like that. So I would say that would be the roles of the two girls in the family. Like I said, the mother ended up passing away when they were very young, so they had to go live with their Aunt Helen. Again, let me see. Her drug of choice, alcohol and Vicodin. It starts by showing very early on in the movie the destructive behavior that Gwen has. She goes out partying with her boyfriend all night. She stays up all night, reckless. They end up passing out. In the morning, she immediately wakes up and starts drinking again. And it starts off with her waking up late to go to her sister's wedding. And obviously that's one of her sister's most important days of her life. And Gwen is late for the wedding, drunk. She doesn't even take a shower. It really just sets the tone for the whole movie to show, kind of how deep into her addiction she is and how kind of unaware she is in it as well. And she shows up late for her sister's wedding. Her and her boyfriend are acting obnoxious. They're dancing, and Gwen ends up falling over into her sister's wedding cake. And she decides then that it's a good idea to get in the car and go find a bakery during the middle of the wedding to try to find a cake for her sister. And during that process, she gets in a car accident and drives into a house. And then it kind of jumps to her being court ordered to go into a rehab facility. The name of the facility is called Serenity Glen Rehabilitation Center. It's an inpatient facility. It says it's for mind, body, and treatment is what it says. And she's court ordered to be there for 28 days. And if she doesn't follow through with that treatment, then she will have to go to jail. What was kind of good, I'm really glad that I picked this movie actually, because it does take place in an inpatient treatment facility. I was able to see the different treatments that they provided to to the patients there. Right off the bat, it starts to talk. You see them in class with their notebooks, and there's a teacher in the front, and they've got a jar kind of passing around a liver that has cirrhosis, so cirrhosis of the liver, and they're teaching everybody what that does to their body. You instantly start to see that they have group sessions, and then there's AA meetings, there's the Serenity Prayer. Her counselor is also a recovering addict, so you hear him speaking and sharing his story with everyone as well. They offered things like equine therapy, I'm probably saying that wrong, with the horse. And they did this really cool thing where it was kind of based on trust and calm and patience, and you kind of had to rub your hand down the horse's leg, and the goal was to get the horse to lift its leg and to trust you to be able to release, and to trust you to be able to lift the leg. So that was a whole thing, which was really nice. And then cleaning the stalls and really being engaged with the animal. That was a big one. They did trust building exercises, such as they got on a bus, went out into this wooded area, and there was like this structure, this climbing structure, and they had to be attached to a safety rope. And a lot of it was trust and releasing, control to those around you and being vulnerable. And so it shows her up at the top, and she's hooked up to all these ropes, but her peers, who are also in the facility, are holding the safety rope, and she's got to trust them and ask for help and things like that. So that was a good exercise. Because she kind of suffered from, releasing control, one of the techniques that they did was they had her wear a sign. And on the sign it said, "Confront me if I don't ask for help." I guess that was just a tool to get her to ask for help and not have to do everything on her own. Let me see here. They also did family sessions, and I'll touch a little bit more on that in just a minute. She also had a one-on-one counselor, as I explained, so that was an opportunity for her to have one-on-one discussions. They also, I would say, out of all the treatments that they provided in this facility, the one that I felt impacted her the most, and probably all the clients in the facility, and it's not necessarily what they would consider a treatment in itself, it's just kind of a bystander of being in the facility, was the connection that she ended up forming with the other patients in the facility. They even though they all suffer from different addiction, they're all from different walks of life, different cultures, races, they were all there for the common purpose of trying to recover from an addiction of some sort. And I think that in itself was the most powerful treatment. And the most beautiful part was the connection that she formed with the other people in the facility. I'll just jump in. So one of the things that I wish that they would have touched on a little bit more, that I think would have been very beneficial, they touched on it some, was the structure with the family and discussing the trauma with the family. And like in our classes, we discussed the seven stages of sequential family addictions, and it's really if I'm getting this correctly, the whole purpose of this model is really to get the whole family on board, to heal together, and to understand the addiction and the role that it's played within the family. So they did offer the family sessions there, and she did invite her older sister to come. And she didn't come for the first few days of the family sessions, but then she finally ended up coming, and she was sitting in there, and they start talking about, it's like the whole group is around them, her and her sister sitting in the middle, and they're looking at each other, and they start discussing the wedding and what she did to her sister at the wedding. And really Gwen doesn't even remember really how severe she acted with the family. So but you could tell that the sister was very upset. There was a lot of resentment and anger there, and the counselor, the facilitator of the group, kept telling the sister, to kind of bring it back a little bit and stay focused. But it just showed, like, in that moment that addiction obviously didn't just affect the person suffering from the addiction, Gwen. It affected the family, and there is anger and there is hurt. And I wish that it would have touched more on that, because I think that was such an important piece, but it didn't. But it took a bit. Let me kind of step back. So during that session, the sister ended up leaving. She ended up getting upset, and she's like, I don't need this, I'm gonna go. And so she left. But that just went to show you that the sister wasn't ready yet. She wasn't ready for the stage that Gwen, was going through with the healing. She wasn't ready to be a part of that process. Later on, Gwen has her roommate who's suffering from addiction as well, and she ends up overdosing in the facility. She's getting ready to be released, but ends up overdosing. And it overwhelms Gwen. She's consumed with emotion. She's sad. She calls the sister, and the sister can kind of tell that something's wrong, and so the sister ends up showing up at the facility. And they had just a beautiful moment of the sister understanding that, that Gwen didn't have someone loving on her and protecting her. And she understood now that the sister that Gwen needed that. And she understands why I think her sister was the way that she was. And so they shared this beautiful moment of connection, where I think that right there was the whole purpose of the sequential family addictions model. And it was a beautiful thing to see the two of them finally love each other and cry with each other and be vulnerable. So that part was amazing. Let me see here. So let me skip over. And then I would say, just to kind of speed things along, because my time's running out, the stages of change. I witnessed very clearly the pre-contemplation stage, where she really didn't feel that she had an issue. She, on visitor's day at the very beginning, she left with her boyfriend, got drunk, came back, they were going to kick her out, and the counselor was going to, have her go to jail, whatever. And she's like, no, I can change. And then she ended up throwing her pills out the window, thinking that she didn't need them anymore. She was going to start to really go through the process, but then she ends up jumping out the window to try to get the pills. So that was kind of a whole thing. And then, so then she realized that she really did have an issue. She starts to make changes. She starts participating. She starts engaging. She starts forming friendships and bonding. And so I could see just very clearly where she didn't feel that she had an issue to where she started to see it. And then, she ends up confronting her toxic boyfriend and, ends up breaking up with him at the very end. But then telling him, that she's got to change, but he's not ready for the change, obviously. So, and then the maintenance stage, kind of where she leaves the facility, she ends up getting back into the real world. She chose to break up with her boyfriend, and it was just it was beautiful. She ended up, realizing that she needed to do this for herself. And I would say I would have enjoyed to have seen more like of the cognitive behavioral therapy side of it, where they were talking about her issues as a child and how her mother's addiction affected her. But you could kind of tell through flashbacks in the movie how it affected her. But it would have been interesting to see that. I would say barriers for this would be because there wasn't a lot of discussion of the trauma from when she was a child. That would be a barrier. I would say there's probably healing that hasn't been and won't be able to happen because the mom passed away. And so there's a lot of healing that's left there for that. Potential resources, Riverside Recovery. Here's one. I live here in Tampa. They offer something called an alumni group. After they finish the treatment, you're able to stay connected. You're able to go to group sessions. There's speaking events and things like that. I also thought about AA would be good for her to continue to do that, to become a sponsor. She'd be an amazing sponsor. And to continue individual and family counseling with her and her sister. So that's kind of where I'm at. I used up the whole 15 minutes. So thank you so much.